at your table, you have a keypad. So everybody go ahead and please grab one of the keypads. And I realize you're probably just right at the beginning of a great conversation, hearing about why your esteemed colleagues are here today, and you get to keep having that conversation. We're going to keep talking. But we thought it would be helpful to just get a snapshot of who's here in the room. So that keypad that you have, if you want to put it around your neck or whatever, just don't walk out with it when you leave. But we're going to do some questions now, and we may do some questions at the end. And you don't want to commingle your keypad. So we want, the answers you give in now, when we ask you questions at the end, we want to make sure you're using the same keypad. So just find a way to hold on to it without leaving with it. So, and with the keypad, you don't have to point it at any particular place. You're just going to put your vote in. And so I think we're ready to start our first question. We're just going to find out a little bit about who's in the room. And the reason I start with this one is just let you get comfortable with the keypad. And if you want, you can make multiple choices and go back and forth. But the last vote you do before the vote closes is the one that will count. So let's go ahead and vote this. So press number 1 or number 2. And I understand that you could give more choices, but we're just practicing with these closed options. Okay? So you see the clock counting down in the corner. And
does this thing beep or anything?
There we go. Nice balanced group. Excellent. Okay, let's go on to our next questions. Okay, what is your age? And you can see, I'm going to read this just in case you have bad eyesight in the back of the room. Number 1, you would be under 25. Number 2, 25 to 34. What? And we urge you to be honest. It's anonymous. Okay. 3, 35 to 44. 4, 45 to 54. 5, 55 to 64. And then 6 is that 65 or wiser. So go ahead and let's start voting now. Your choices are 1 through 6. Okay. Interesting. No, you just hit button 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And we have the highest group is in the 45 to 54, then followed by the 55 to 64s. And when we start doing this around the state, as Aubrey mentioned, we're going to be having different formats and venues to make sure that those under 25s are present. Okay. Next. All right. Which sector do you most identify with? And I understand this can be frustrating because some of you are such great leaders. You're wearing all kinds of hats from different sectors. Just pick the one you most closely identify with. So number 1 would be business. Number 2 is local or regional government. Number 3 is some kind of community-based service. Number 4, civic or philanthropic group. Number 5, education. Number 6, faith-based. 7, labor. 8, environment. 9, you really can't find yourself in 1 through 8. So do folks got what you're voting on here? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and have you share what sector you most identify with. And our intent again is that we believe all sectors will need to be involved in getting our governance systems back on track. So we have 32% business, followed up with a fairly even break between civic, philanthropic, local, regional government, community-based services, and education. Thank you. Okay, we have another question. Okay, your primary ethnicity: 1, African American; 2, Asian American; 3, Caucasian; 4, Hispanic Latino; 5, Native American; 6, Pacific Islander; 7, mixed race; 8, other. So again, choose one between 1 and 8. And we'll vote that one. All right. Okay. We have predominantly Caucasian, and but we do have representatives
for African American, Asian American, Hispanic, Latino. And again, this project, as it unrolls across the state, is going to have all kinds of outreach to different ethnicities and also multiple language components. All right, we've got, I think, 2 more questions. 3 more questions. Which of the following ideological perspectives best describes you? And I understand these labels can be a little bit, confining, but we're just trying to get a snapshot so that as you hear the discussion unfold later, you know. And these are the PPIC labels, so if you want to quibble with the language. 1 is very liberal, 2 is somewhat liberal, 3 middle of the road, 4 somewhat conservative, 5 very conservative. Okay, we can go with that one, 1 through 5. Okay, so there is a skew here to the liberal, and just, you can keep that in your mind as you're thinking about what's unfolding in the discussion. And again, the project aspires to reach out to people who represent the ideologies across the state, and also, more importantly, help people see the common ground between the ideologies. Okay, we've got another question here, which is, how informed do you feel about issues relating to state or local government reform? And some of you, this has been a topic of deep interest to you, and some of you, it's kind of a new topic. And if our recruiting worked well, we're not going to have all governance reform experts. We're going to have a mix. But let's go ahead and take a look. And the way the numbers work is, if you really like what's governance reform, never heard of it, give yourself a 1. If you feel you're a deep expert, give yourself a 9, and basically any number in between. So you can vote a 2, a 4, a 6, just because there isn't a word there. Just assume it's a scale of 1 to 9. 1, you don't feel at all informed. 9, you feel extremely well informed about issues relating to state or local government reform. You folks got that? Okay, great. Let's go ahead and vote that one. Right. So the predominant responses, this group is pretty well informed. Only 9% of you put yourself at the, I am really well informed, but you've been paying attention. But I'm also pleased to note that we've got other folks in the room who are not so well informed. And I want to make sure that you feel that your perspectives are equally valued, because if we're going to have this conversation, it can't just be for the people who've been talking about this. We need to get everybody in. Okay, I think we have one last question. If you've been thinking about reform, or even just toying with it, we've created 3 very broad domains, and I know you know that it's more complicated than this. But of the broad domains, which one do you have the most personal experience with? And so fiscal issues, some of the things that Zabri was talking about in terms of California Forward's, as an example, budget reform, revenue reform. The second domain, state-local control. Where's the legal authority between different levels of government and so forth. And 3, political process, like how we elect our representatives and so forth. So, and you could have experience with a domain that you can't fit into those 3 broad categories. Does anybody have any burning question of clarification before we vote that one? And again, there's no right or wrong answers, just to see where your attentions have been. So let's go ahead and vote that one. 1, if you feel like you've got the most experience with fiscal, 2, state, local, 3, political process, 4, something else. So, somewhat evenly balanced between the political process, then fiscal, then state local control, and other, and which is neat. I like that. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It helps us as we move forward in the project that we'll be able to compare the responses across sectors, across different ways of understanding our audience. So thank you very much. And it's back to Malka.
Yes, one question.
Sure.
Will we be able to get from the other regional dialogues what the differences between our makeup of our group and their makeup of their group?
That would be the premise, that the project will make transparent to you who was involved in the dialogue and what were their